I keep looking at this thing, and I don't really understand why. You know? Graduated high school. Hooray. Yippee for me. Congratulations, Mr. Wilshire. Oh, thank you. Yeah, who would have thunk it, right? I mean, I was 2 credits short just a little bit ago, and I certainly never would have guessed I'd actually graduate on time, but hey, it happened anyway. Cake and watermelon for everyone, I guess. I don't know, man. I don't know. You want to see how many sugar packets I used in my coffee? You should have seen at the after celebration party. What? After I had my one cupcake and the glass of lemonades that they had out, and then Mr. Flynn comes up to me and goes, "Oh, you know, there's coffee down there," and you should have seen my eyes light up when I'm like, "Oh, there's coffee?" You know, loud, crowded situation, you know, stimulation in every hole of my body, and just hearing the little things people say. Oh, congratulations! Think you'll come back next year? Blah 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 blah. 1, 2, 3. One dropped. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. About 30, and when you consider that that's both the top and the bottom, it's probably closer to a total of 15, since almost all of these are ripped in half. But, yeah, across 3 cups of coffee, because they're serving coffee at the after party. You know, after the ceremony, when everybody goes to the cafeteria and they have refreshments and stuff, and I thought you could only take 1 cupcake, but I ended up taking 4, which apparently you're able to do. I guess not as many people ate the cupcakes as they expected, so on my way out, Miss Curry was like, "You should get some extra cupcakes and take them home." I'm such a mess, man. I just don't know how to feel about all of this, you know? I keep looking at this damn tassel. Is that what these things are called? It was in the top of the hat. When we threw our hats, they said, well, you can't keep the hats or the gowns, because, you know, yeah, those things are expensive, I guess. But you can keep the tassels. And I thought, well, wouldn't it also be expensive to replace these tassels every year? But I guess not. Especially considering that there's metal lettering saying what year it is, so I guess they'd have to replace them anyway. 2022. You know, 20 years ago, Spider-Man released in movie theaters. That's an actual thought that went through my brain after the graduation ceremony, looking at this stupid thing and going, 20 years ago, Spider-Man released. That's cool. I'm not even a really big Spider-Man fan. Just one of the many random things that go in and out of my brain, I guess. When you're sitting there, you know, looking around at all of the people, I mean, I say this as if it's something everyone does, but I was the only one doing it. You know, everybody's up and about and standing and shaking hands and congratulating each other, and I don't even know anyone there. Throughout the entire thing, there was exactly one person who I felt confident enough to go up to and say, you know, a cordial congratulations and have a nice summer. And even that person isn't really my friend. He's just a guy I know. And so everyone's up and about, and I'm just sitting on one of the benches, drinking my coffee, looking around at all of the people and thinking, you know, I'll never have a chance to talk to these people again. And I didn't really talk to them at all in the first place. Like I said, I don't even really know anyone at that school. Yeah, I have like one or two people who I'd call like friends, and they're all in ninth grade for some reason. Uh, and I'd attribute that to the move, but the truth is I didn't really have that many friends at the old school either. I mean, there's Colin, and Colin is. I mean, I met him in high school. He was pretty much my friend for most of it, but he's a year older than me, so he graduated, and then I had to go in another year without him, and I kind of realized over the past year or so just how fucking bad I am at socializing. Like, I really wish I could tell you that I'm one of those people that has the confidence or the power or the brain cells to just walk up to somebody who I'd like to talk to and start talking to them and not hate myself. But even when I talk to people I know, depending on the context, I'll be really nervous about it. And yeah, I don't know. It's a weird feeling, when I was sitting there and just looking around, and there's always those people you recognize, and you always think, hey, I should talk to them one day, but then you never do, and now I never will. That was my last chance. This is probably sounding really depressing, but I'm not, like, upset or anything, It's graduation day. Yippee! I threw my hat in the air like everybody else, but something inside me just feels like I should be feeling more than I am, And I'm just not. I mean, I guess I just feel empty. And a lot of that probably just comes from the fact that we had this whole grand celebration, and I'm just thinking, there's only one person in this entire building right now who knows me well enough to really feel happy about that, and it's my mother. I mean, I thought about it a while ago, and I kind of realized that all of the friendships I've ever been in have just kind of happened to me, None of them, almost none of them, started by me just walking up to someone and saying, hi, I'm Jamie, let's be friends, It's always just been circumstantial. My best friend, Colin Ellis, the guy who I'll be roommates with very soon, when I first met him, he hated me. Like, hated me. He ran away every time I was in the same room as him. He called me Colin Repellent. You know how we became friends? One day, they played American Idiot on the PA. I don't know if this is a thing at your school, but at my school, well, at my old school, every morning when the morning announcements came on, they'd play like a song. And one day they played American Idiot. And one thing about me that you may or may not know is I'm a very big Green Day fan. I have been for 9 years. You name a single Green Day song, any single one, including covers, and I can recite the entire lyrics to them. And so they start playing American Idiot on the PA system. And ninth grade me thinks it would be really funny to go, yes! And then I start spazzing out on the floor. I literally just got on the floor, I started shaking rapidly and screaming the don't want to be an American! And then Colin thought that was so fucking funny. Once the announcements were done, and my poor teacher, Miss Falls, is just off in the corner, just going, Jamie, please stop. And then Colin queues up American Idiot on his phone to see if he can make me do it again. And I, of course, being the agent of chaos I am, I humor him. and so now he basically has this remote control in his hands that can make a kid spaz out on the floor at the press of a button. And then at the end of the day, well, not the day, but the class, when Comtech was over, I came up to him, or maybe he came up to me, I don't exactly remember it, but one of us said to the other, hey, maybe instead of hating each other, we should be friends. And now he's my best friend. I haven't seen Colin in almost half a year now. I'm going to get to see him again on my birthday, so that's pretty cool. I'll be visiting the city for like a week again. And for that week, maybe I won't feel so isolated. I mean, now that school's over, God knows what that's going to do to this whole isolated feeling situation that I've got going on. You know, for the entirety of high school, you're sitting in class and, let's be honest, killing time, right? That's what most of us do in high school. It's a whole lot of time killing. It's a whole lot of sitting down and just looking at the clock every 2 minutes, waiting for it to be over, waiting for the next thing, waiting for your next class or the next bell or the next lunch. And even if you're not looking forward to it, just mentally you're like, okay, on to the next thing. And then you get into your next class. It's like, finally, I reached that goal. And then you start looking at the clock again, waiting for the next class. It's just a loop of sitting impatiently where you currently are, waiting for the next place where you're going to be. And when you think about it, your home life isn't even that much better than your school life most of the time as far as that goes. It's just that at home you have the free will to distract yourself from whatever the hell is going on. You don't have to sit alone with your thoughts, you know? You can... Stimulation. And when I first got to this new school, there were so many lunches I spent just sitting alone in the cafeteria. I had no friends. At my old school, I would just call Colin, and since the school was within walking distance of my house, oh God, I remember that experience. You know, I could just walk home or pace around the sidewalk, you know, on the phone, talking with Colin and, you know, sometimes imagining that people were listening in. I don't know. There's this weird part of my brain that just is waiting for other people to talk to me like that's going to happen. You know, some part of me just wants people to look at me and think, Jamie Wilshire, what's his deal? What does he want? Who is he? Let's find out, you know? That's not going to happen, obviously. But if someone walked up to me and just asked me, hey, tell me your entire life story, you know? I wouldn't hesitate. It all started in October of 2003. That's when I was conceived. But like, I don't know, man. I remember the most memorable day of school at this school was the grad barbecue. June 2nd. That's how memorable it was that I actually remember the date. And, God, that wasn't even that long ago. It's still June. That day was magic. Just pure magic. And even on that day, I didn't really talk to anyone. But it was a really good day. In those days when I sat alone in the cafeteria, I realized I kept looking at the clock and just waiting for lunch to end, just like I did at my classes. I mean, isn't that weird? You always associate lunch with freedom, you know? Finally, I'm happy for an hour. I don't have to deal with school bullshit. That means I should be happy. But if anything, when you don't have anyone to talk to, it's just even worse. I'd polish off my lunch in about 5 minutes, and then I'd just sit there, looking around at all the other people in the cafeteria, and it's almost depressing. And, I have no idea I mean, to be completely honest with you, in one of my classes, I literally didn't even do work. Like, I mean, I literally did not do work. For the entire semester, there was this one class I had, and it was this online computer class. And the thing about me, and this is why my grades tanked when COVID happened, is I don't do well with the whole online computer learning thing, you know? You should have seen how my grades plummeted when COVID happened. And that's just because I get distracted so easily. I don't even think about it. My just second instinct when I'm handed a school computer is, all right, open Discord, you know? And literally wasted most of my classes. I think during the entirety of that class, I handed in maybe 3 assignments, and then when I got to the culminating, that's worth 30% of the mark, they put me in this special system thing where I had to sign a paper, and it's like, okay, you can graduate on time, just, you need to pass all your classes. And I was worried I wasn't going to pass this class because, dummy, I wasted all that time not doing work. So then it's like, well, this is worth 30% of your grade. And the questions are like, during all the stuff you learned in this course and blah, 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 during this course, it's like, how the fuck do I answer this? I didn't do this course. But I passed, somehow. I passed with, like, a pretty high rate at that. I mean, how does that even happen? I mean, maybe I just got a handout. I guess I don't really have a problem with that. It's just weird to think about. I guess a lot of the existential dread of this whole thing just comes from... this day is great and all, but am I going to be looking back on it for the rest of my life? And that's a really weird feeling. And it's kind of one that I'm used to. I'm already looking back at, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or whatever, and I mean, that's just nostalgia, right? Everybody does that, but I don't know, man. It's just the thought of high school being over, it fucks with me, and I don't really know what to do about that. I've been saying, have a good summer a lot recently. That's kind of my new phrase. I've never been good with conversations or even just, like, cordial small talk socializing, but one thing that I've always had a grasp on is, how was your weekend, It's the most easy, inoffensive thing that you can say to anyone at all, even people you don't know, to try and start a conversation, but they're rules, right? You get back on Monday and you say, how was your weekend? And perfect, right? Because the weekend just happened, and now it's Monday. And everybody is back, but they're still, miserable because the weekend's over. So you ask them a question like, how's your weekend? And now they get to vicariously live through their weekend again, while also telling you how their weekend was. It's the perfect icebreaker. But then Tuesday happens, and on Tuesday, you can still ask, how's your weekend? It's a little bit weaker on Tuesday, but it's still a perfectly normal question to ask on Tuesday. But then Wednesday happens, right? Now on Wednesday, you ask, how's your weekend? Somebody's going to look at you weird, right? But they'll still tell you how your weekend was, because it's Wednesday. It's like the middle of the week, so it's still relatively acceptable to ask how your weekend was on Wednesday. Don't even fucking think about Thursday. Because by Thursday, everybody's thinking, well, it's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday, the next weekend is coming. So you ask somebody how their last weekend was on Thursday, when they're already planning for their next weekend, that's not going to end well. I mean, they'll still tell you, but mentally, they'll be judging you. They'll be like, dude, get with the times. Last weekend was forever ago. It's fucking Thursday. And then Friday. I mean, if you ask somebody how their last weekend was the day before the next weekend, then at that point, you might as well just put clown makeup on. This is why socializing is so fucking hard. There's so many stupid rules. You never know what to say. I mean, some people do. But I certainly don't. And, man, I don't even know what to do with myself half the time, even when I'm not talking to people, just because I feel like people are looking at me. I'm always thinking way too hard about the way I sit and what my face is doing and what my hands are doing. That's why I always have coffee or a drink or something. I mean, recently what I've been doing is putting an entire pot's worth of double espresso chai tea between two water bottles, which I carry without me through my classes, and I have it all mentally portioned out when I'm allowed to drink them or not so that they last me the whole day. Because when you have a drink or something, it's perfect. You can just hold the drink and you can take a drink every now and again. I don't know, it just makes you feel more confident. Makes me feel more confident for literally no reason at all, but you know, when for the brief moment when I was in the cafeteria before I got any refreshments because nobody else had done it yet, and I thought, well, that means I can't do it either. Then I was just standing there, and it was like when I was sitting, you know, for the first like half of the ceremony when I was sitting really uncomfortable. Oh God, I hope that the girl next to me isn't judging me right now, you know. And I'm just looking around, and it's just the noise. The noise is so loud, and you just hear everyone talking over each other. Congratulations, and have a good summer. What are you gonna do at university? It's like, you know, and it's so loud, and then I got a coffee, and it just stopped. Now I have coffee. Everything's okay now. I don't even like coffee. I literally put so much sugar in coffee for the express purpose of making sure that I don't taste any of the coffee. It doesn't even make me feel more awake. It actually puts me to sleep. I actively drink caffeine before bed because it makes me tired. But, you know, it's easy. And now school's over. And I don't really feel good about it. I don't necessarily feel bad about it either. I feel slightly accomplished considering how unlikely this was to happen. You know, 2 credits short, almost 0 community hours. But I did it. I should be a lot happier about it, right? I should be happy. I mean, maybe I'm just the weird one, and maybe I'm just thinking about this way too much. But am I? I don't know. You know, as I'm sure you can tell, I'm no speech giver. Yeah, I mean, the entire idea to do this just came in my head because when they were talking about what a valedictorian was, and I had never heard about that, then for some reason the thought just wouldn't leave my head of, what would I say if I was valedictorian? And then I thought about what I would say if I was valedictorian, and, you know, the truth is, I'd make a horrible fucking valedictorian, right? I was barely able to give my book talk in my English class because I kept looking up and going, oh God, am I making eye contact for too long? Look back down at the page. And even beyond that, I go on and on and on and on, and I go on side tangents, and I talk about shit that nobody cares about for way too long, and, sorry, alarm. You know. Oh, no, I don't. My music started playing from my headphones over there. And it's just, I mean, when high school is over, it's just so much. I mean, so much of high school is spent just killing time and waiting for things to be over. And then when high school is almost over, panic mode, dude, you know? Oh my God, is high school really over? Am I never going to experience this bus ride again? I didn't even have to come in for my last exam day, but I did anyway. I wanted to be there because I knew that one day in the future, if I didn't, I wish I had. I have so many days ahead of me that are spent at home doing whatever the hell I want. But I have 0 days ahead of me in a high school. Isn't that weird? And for both of the exam days that I came back, well, when all of the other kids were calling their parents and getting a ride home, I stayed. On the first one, I met up with, like, the one friend I have, and we just, you know, goofed around for the entire rest of the day until the bus came. Because when else are you going to get to experience basically an entire day of high school where you can just meet up with one of your friends and leave the building and do whatever the hell you want? And then the second day, she wasn't there because, you know, she didn't have an exam for that class, I guess. And I had to figure out another way to entertain myself. And as usual, there was a lot of time just kind of spent fidgeting, not knowing what to do. You know, looking at my phone and scrolling through the apps without actually doing anything, just so that I look busy to people around me. And then I ended up spending most of the day on Discord, talking to Pietro and whatnot. Just another day, I guess. I mean, you have a finite amount of days, right? But there's so many of them, and at the same time, there's so little of them. So on the one hand, you want to get the most out of each one. But on the other hand, sometimes they just happen. And then it's over. And then it's like, well, that sure was a day. That day won't happen again. One step closer to my final goal of death, I guess. I'm 18 in less than a month. Me. You know what Colin said about turning 18? You know what he said? He said, the one depressing moment where you realize you're becoming an adult, the one that hits you the hardest, is when you're on a porn site and you click the I am 18 or older button and you realize you're actually being honest. I don't know. I just thought that was funny. And, you know, oh God, I've done so many things where I start a thought and then I get sidetracked. I was talking about how I got this idea because blah, 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 valedictorian this, blah, 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 terrible at giving speeches that, and then I proceeded to demonstrate why. But, you know, I remember way back when all the time when I just had random thoughts in my head, I'd just get them out by making a YouTube video and I'd post it. And nobody watched them because who the hell cares, right? But, you know, a few people watched them, just like my friends and the 2 religious viewers I had back in 2018. And funny enough, none of those people are probably watching this now because all of the friends I used to have don't really talk to me anymore. And I'm pretty sure those people don't really watch me anymore either, in large part just because I largely stopped making YouTube content. Funny how people grow apart like that. You know? I mean, whenever I play Minecraft, God, I remember the days when Minecraft was just the most important thing in my life, right? And I can't tell you how many days in, like, grade 8 and grade 9, it would be like 8 a.m. and I literally had gotten no sleep. I spent an entire night, like from 8 p.m. all the way to like 7 a.m. just playing Minecraft, making my little command block machines, and then it's like, oh, 7 a.m., time to start getting ready for school, and then that was before I even drank coffee. And, whenever I play Minecraft now, I'm honestly not a big fan of Minecraft, not in its current state. I mean, even beyond all of the horrible decisions that are currently being made about it, the truth is, the game that exists now is just not the same game I remember. I mean, this is not related to the rest of the video at all, but just let me talk for 1 second. I think that there's a certain point, right, where with any artistic integrity, you have to be like, alright, we've added enough to this game, time to make a sequel. But Minecraft doesn't want to do that, and it's obvious why they don't, right? Minecraft, the best-selling game ever, most sales. That's one hell of a pitch to investors, and if they make Minecraft 2, which is not the best-selling game ever, then, you know, when they could just have one single product with all of these sales, you know, it'd be less impressive, so they just keep adding shit to Minecraft. And I think that, you know, they've added so much shit to Minecraft and retconned so many of what once was iconic parts of Minecraft's identity that, honest to God, the game I remember playing between, like, 2014 and 2018 is just not the game that exists now. That game exists somewhere, but Certainly not on my Nintendo Switch cartridge of it, which is the only way I play it now. But, I play Minecraft sometimes, just because Colin plays Minecraft, and since I can't really see him anymore, then, it's a fun way for us to spend time together. And, I don't really like Minecraft, but the main appealing part of it is just, it's a way to hang out with people. And then whenever I send him the invite to my game, I have to scroll through my entire lists of people who I have added as friends on my Xbox account. I never had an Xbox console, but I have an account specifically because of Minecraft. And it's kind of depressing, because it's depressing in the same way that scrolling through your contacts on Messenger is depressing, right? Because you're scrolling through this list of people who you haven't talked to in years, and many of whom you will probably never talk to again. And some of those people you think I should talk to them, or maybe you even try to, but it just doesn't exactly work out, you know? It just doesn't happen. Yeah, sometimes you just grow apart from people, and then you never talk to them again. At one point in your life, those people were the most important thing to you, you know? If you were to go back in time and ask grade 8 Jamie to list all of the important people in his life, then the entire list of people that he gave would be people that are simply not a part of current Jamie's life. And when you're sitting there after the graduation ceremony, and you're looking around at all those people who you'll never talk to now, you're thinking, man, I'm going to regret this. But the truth is, probably not, right? I mean, in that moment, it's really important to you because you just feel so alone, and you're just looking around at all of these people, and it's like, these people look so great. I wish I could talk to them. But when you don't see them anymore, when you don't go to school anymore, and you don't think about them, then you don't think about them. Your mind moves on to the next thing. I've already almost completely forgotten about all of the people back at the last school who I would recognize and think I should talk to that person, and then I never did. Now I'll never get the chance to. But, I guess that's okay. High school is so weird, man. It's just such a weird thing that happens. I mean, let me be straight with you for a second here, right? There was not a single thing in high school that I learned that I either didn't already know or couldn't have found out by using the internet for 30 minutes, And that's not to say I wish I hadn't gone, or that I wish high school didn't exist fully, but, I think by the time kids are a certain age, then there's a much better way to go about these sorts of things. I've always said that with high school specifically, and this is just my experience, the most important thing you take out of high school are your friends, the people who know you and the people who you like to be around. That's the most that I've gotten out of high school, is just making connections with people. And, I mean, if you don't know how to do that, it's basically just a waste of 4 years of your life. But it's important that young people have the opportunity to do that, at least, right? I think that that's the most important thing about high school. About school in general, honestly. I mean, once you're past, the first, 3 grades or whatever, because every child matures differently, right? Every person's brain actually develops at a different rate. That's why whenever you go to a high school, you'll see a bunch of grade 12s who act more like grade 8s and a bunch of grade 12s who act like 30-year-olds. It's really easy to just go with the average and say, well, the average blah 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 matures like this and this and this, but everybody matures very differently, and so everybody learns at a different pace, I guess. And honestly, I would say that by the time I got to by the time I got to like grade 1, I had already learned the most important things that school would ever teach me. And that's just like basic writing ability, basic reading ability, basic, coordination. At that point, my dad had already taught me calculus, you know? My grade 1 math teacher actually got mad at my dad and gave him an angry phone call. You can't teach a first grader calculus. Well, he did. I was always good at math. That doesn't mean I like math. But I kind of do like math. Here's the thing about math, right? And of course, if anybody gives you an option, right? Either do math or not do math. Most people are going to be like, yeah, sorry, Chief, I just not into it. But, the thing about math, especially in a school setting, is that math is the one thing that is purely objective. Math is the one thing where there is no subjectivity in it. Because let's be very real for a second, right? Let's be very human for a second. Most classes, there's a significant amount of bias from your teacher. And you are going to have your grades either thrive or suffer depending on whether your teacher likes you or not. That's just the thing that's going to happen. And it's not exactly right. It doesn't even mean that teachers are bad people for doing that, because it's usually completely subconscious. But it happens, You don't even think about how often you judge a person just by little things that, you either like or don't like. And that affects how you treat them. Even if it's not right, it happens. But math is not like that. With math, it's very clear cut. Either you're good at math or you're not. And if you're good at math, you'll get good grades every time, because numbers can't be argued with. Numbers are the one thing in this world that you just can't argue. I mean, you can argue facts. You shouldn't, but you can. And the thing about facts is that it's so ambiguous as to what even is factual and what's not. And then there's science, but science is always changing. It's really easy to make mistakes with science, and there's a lot of science that's existed for a long time that was then proven false, because new science came out, and it turns out the old science was bad. But math has been the same for centuries. Math is 100% consistent, 100% measurable. You can always rely on math to be consistent. And a lot of people really hate math, and it's their least favorite class. And I kind of understand it, because the thing about math is that it's really, really tedious. But it's reliable. And I think that that's why I always like math so much, there's a perfect symmetry with numbers. You can always rely on numbers. Four years sounds like such a short time on paper. And once you get to the end of those 4 years, you realize it really is a very short time. But it feels like so much longer than it actually is. Even though once it's over, you suddenly feel how short it was. But while it's happening, I mean, me 4 years ago is a very different person. I was on the phone with my dad before the ceremony, and we were talking about graduation, and he goes, "Oh, I remember, when you graduated grade 8. And I'm like, wait a minute, no you don't, because that didn't happen. There was this whole drama with my elementary, middle school, I guess, whatever. We don't really do middle school in Canada, but it was the school I went to during my middle school years. And there was a lot of drama with them. And long story short, to give you an idea of just how stupid this drama was, I was expelled in June, like a week before graduation. And I kid you not, it wasn't because I did something really bad, like, I don't know, threatened to shoot the school or whatever. No, it was literally like things like, you swore, you said a dirty joke, and I wasn't even making dirty jokes. I make a lot of dirty jokes now, but back in like grade 8, very rarely, especially in school, would I make dirty jokes intentionally. But because all of our teachers were, extremely dirty-minded adults, they would attribute the things that this child said as dirty. And then they would punish this child for saying dirty things, which is pretty messed up and probably had a very long-term psychological effect on me. But it happened, and you know, I remember hearing about how at the ceremony from my friends were pissed off about this. It actually made me feel good that my friends were pissed off about this. My slide came up in their little slideshow when they were saying everyone's name and stuff, and then, you know, the teacher makes a signal like this, and then they skip to the next slide, you know, because I wasn't there. I wasn't invited. I still graduated. I don't even think it's legal to fail 8th graders in Canada, but, you know. I need to reposition now I'm sitting. Maybe I'll sit in this chair for a while. You know, grade 8 was pretty much the peak of my social skills. I mean, you should have seen, I had this whole group back when Google Hangouts was the hot app to chat with people in. We had this big group. Were like 10 people in it or something who were like my actual friends who I would talk to on a daily basis, and we would all get in this big group chat together, and we would all talk, and we'd make fun of the school, and we would make edgy jokes, and it was just the funnest shit. And I actually left an impact at that place. I mean, I remember one day in my grade, I want to say 10 or 11 year or something, that I was walking by that old school, and some old classmates, like, came up to the fence, because the park was right outside, and I'd go to the park at lunch. And they went to the fence, and they were like, "Hey, Jamie, hey, we remember you." And I was like, "Really?" But they did. They remembered me. Almost made me feel like I had a legacy, which is dramatic, of course. But I don't know. I mean, it's weird to think that back then I was so well talking to a large amount of people at once, because I'm the complete opposite now. Now, I'm at my best when I'm one-on-one, or maybe with like 2 people, but anything more than that. You know, I can do big crowds, but when I do, it's more like a performance thing, you know? Like, I can't individually know 10 people at once and then, you know, socialize with all of them simultaneously, because my brain, it kind of slips into a different mode for each individual person who I like to talk to, you know? Oh, I'm talking to Colin now. Let me slip into Colin mode. Oh, I'm talking to my mom now. Let me slip into my mom mode, you know? They're different. Maybe that was a bad example, because I think it's safe to say that most people on this planet act a little bit differently around their family and relatives than they do around their friends. But I have all these sugar packets on my floor now. I hope it was worth it for that little gag of me showing them. I'm not even dressed up nicely, but it was just nicer than wearing my jacket, I guess. Nobody else was dressed up. Well, okay, they were dressed up at the... Nobody was dressed up at the rehearsal, and that made me feel out of place. And yes, there was a rehearsal. Miss Curry is like, "Oh, it's like a wedding rehearsal." And I'm like, "Wedding rehearsal? I've never heard of that. Is that a thing people do?" It's kind of weird, right? It kind of takes the magic out of the whole "I do" moment if you've done it before. Instead of saying "I do," you should say "I did." "Do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" "I did. 4 days ago at the rehearsal." I don't know. I mean, I guess there are some people that just need everything to be perfect. And I can relate to that a little bit. But I think there are some moments where things being real is more important than things being perfect. And maybe that's why I feel the way I do. I guess things haven't really been real for me recently. Because things are only real when you have a connection with someone. And I don't. Not really. I have like 2 friends who I talk to commonly. 3 if you include the one friend that I've made since moving here. And I don't really talk with her commonly. You know. There's Colin, and I don't even see him in person every week anymore like I used to. I don't see him in person at all anymore because he's a 4-hour drive away from me. Then there's Pietro, who lives in Italy, and they're both really great friends. I'm really glad that they're in my life. But at the end of the day, you know, they're just two people, and, you know, especially since most of the time I'm talking to Pietro, I'm working with him on the game. I'm making a game. I make games now, you know, on the off chance that somebody's watching this who hasn't exactly been following my career. And I'm making this game, and can I just say, this game is amazing. I have so much confidence in this. There is zero doubt in my mind, absolutely zero, that this game will be successful when it's done. But I have to finish it, and I don't want to rush it. At the rate it's going, I honestly think this game will probably be done before the end of the year. And to give you an idea of how good this game is, I'm actually going to try and get it published by a real publisher for real consoles. And by real consoles, I mean the Nintendo Switch. But, it's a really, really good, really special project. And I think that when it's done, it's really going to speak to people. And that's the thing, right? You know, I have aspirations, and I have talent, and I don't necessarily think I'm worthless. I've certainly felt that before, but I don't think that. I honestly think that I'm I have a pretty strong personality. If more people knew me, then I'd probably get along really well with people. It's just that first impression that I'm so fucking bad at. How the hell do you even start a conversation? You know what? If I could choose to have a conversation with any type of person, it'd be the type of people who start conversations and make friends all the time. And I would just say, how? How do you do it? Especially with people who you don't know or haven't talked to before. How do you, first of all, get the confidence to talk to someone? You know, where a context of talking to people hasn't already been established. And second of all, what the hell do you do to make a good enough first impression that this person will ever have any interest in talking to you again? But when I try to talk to people, I'm so fucking awkward, and I trip over all of my words, and, you know, I do this thing that people do, because I don't know what to do with my hands or with my face, and I avert eye contact, and it's like, hi, I'm Jamie. You know, even when people, like there was this group of girls that one of them came up to me and said, hey, Jamie, I didn't know you were in grade 12, and I'm thinking, you know my name? I don't know your name. Is that, should I know you? And I just said, yeah, and it was really loud, so they didn't hear me. I'm not a very loud speaker most of the time. And it was really awkward, and she says it again, because I think she thought I didn't hear her. She goes, I didn't know you're grade 12, and I just said, well, I am, because how else do I respond to that? And they're like, congratulations. And I say, thank you. And then that was it. That was the end of that interaction. There was this school dance a while back. And let me tell you, I don't fucking dance. I was not originally planning on going because, first of all, I didn't have the $5 for it. Ended up bribing my mom for that one. And second of all, it would be pretty sad to go to a dance alone, especially when I can't dance. But I went. And honestly, I was really glad I did. There were actually people, like real-life girls, who came up to me and said, hey, want to dance with me? And then, you know, that happened for about 12 seconds of me doing this. Then it's like, thank you. And then, you know, never again. But in that moment, it was like, wow, I'm actually capable of socializing, kind of. But not really. I don't know. I don't know why that was so important to me. And you know, now there's this. Now there's this whole graduation thing, and when I got there, you know, for the first long time, it was just really awkward, and I didn't know what to do with myself, and that's just how I spend a lot of my time when I'm around people, honestly. And then, you know, as people came and left from the cafeteria, you know, I pretty much stayed and stood alone for most of it until all the students were gone, and, you know, standing around a bunch of adults and parents because and teachers, because that's all that was left after a while. I'm thinking, it's good that I'm standing around all of these adults and not with my fellow students, because now that I am an adult, I guess this is something I'm going to have to get used to. And before I left, I walked up to my teacher, Mr. Flynn, and he said, "Hey, Jamie, what do you need?" And I just kind of looked at him like this for a few seconds. You know, speechless. And then I just leaned in and I hugged him. And I don't even really know why. I just felt like I should. And I don't think he was quite as touched by it as I was, because, well, he didn't react negatively to it. He just went, "Oh, thank you very much. Thank you." I don't know. I guess he gets a lot of hugs. Must be nice. Anyways, I'm glad I did that. If I hadn't, I would probably just think about the fact that then I'd never get to. But I did. I did get to. And I did get to go to a school dance with a few of my friends. And I did get to go to this graduation ceremony, which I haven't done before. Last time I graduated from something, it was senior kindergarten, and we had the framed certificate of that on the wall ever since. You know, at my dad's at least, and then I moved. But now I have this. I'm not going to open it because it has my address on it, but yeah. Crazy. I have this book of memories. They wanted baby photos because there's this whole theme of growing up, I guess. I don't know. You're looking at other people's kids right now. Pretty cool, right? If that makes you feel weird and uncomfortable, imagine how I feel holding it in my hands. I have this big book of other people, none of whom I know or will ever talk to, and pictures of babies. Crazy feeling. There's exactly one picture of me in this entire book. And let me find it and show it to you. It's the very last page. Right here. Right here. You see it? You see him? You see him? Yeah, that's me. There isn't a picture of the grad barbecue on this. They did take pictures, but I asked Mr. Flynn about it, and he goes, "Oh, well, when the grad barbecue was happening, that's when they were printing this book." And I thought, oh, that makes sense. But also, kind of weird that they even took photos then, right? I mean, wasn't that the whole point of having a grad barbecue? And now I might never see those photos, because it's not like they emailed us copies. But I'll always have, I don't remember what it was, but I remember I took something home that day from the grad barbecue. I think it's in my closet somewhere. I don't know. I don't remember. And I'll always have this. I'll always have this tassel until one day I lose it and then I don't think about it anymore. I don't know. Or maybe that won't happen. Sometimes things just happen like that. I keep talking about how I'll never go to high school again, but the truth is I plan to try and go again next year. But that's the thing about plans, right? Sometimes life looks at your plans and kicks them right in the ass. Says, try again. You know? Funny. I certainly didn't plan to move from St. Catharines. I've always found in life that situations like this ceremony are hard because you feel a lot at once, and I think that the easiest way to say goodbye is to not say goodbye. The easiest way to depart from something that's important to you is for it to just happen unexpectedly, and then you're forced to move on. Like what happened with this whole moving thing, you know? I didn't get a last day to go to collegiate, or a last day to, you know, be in St. Catharines, or a last day to look at the room that I'd been in for 14 years. Well, I guess I got that. but I certainly didn't get to film it or take pictures of it or anything like I, my dumb, undeveloped brain thought I was going to do. Because things don't always happen that way. And then I moved and I wasn't expecting it, but it happened. And it didn't hurt as much because I didn't get a day where I was thinking, this is my last time I get to do this. I mean, I got that very briefly, but, pretty much the day after the inciting incident where I had to move was the day that I moved and gotten a 4-hour car drive to the place I've been ever since. And, when it's on your mind, oh, this is the last time and this is the last day and I'm saying goodbye, then you're focusing on it and it cuts that much deeper. And the best way to cope with something is to not have to cope with it at all. It just happens, and then you're like, this is my life now. Maybe that's why I didn't get so emotional about being done with grade 8 and starting high school. Or maybe it's because when I started high school, it was certain what was next for me. Well, life will go on as it always has, just now I go to a different building. And I was nervous, but excited about it. Right now I'm nervous, but I don't really have anything to excite towards. Oh boy, I'm so excited to get a minimum wage job and start paying bills, Yeah, I don't plan to go to college or university or anything. Considering how hard high school has kicked my ass, I really don't think I'd have it in me. I've said this to my mother's face, as insensitive as it might be. If I went to college, I would commit suicide within the first week. Like, bro. It's like high school, except a million times more judgmental, and now you have to pay, like, your entire organs for it. Yeah, no thanks. Oh, great, more year. Literally everybody I've ever met who has gone to college or university has said, don't go to college or university. Biggest waste of my life ever. And, you only get so much life. And, I don't know. I actually want to live mine. And I really have no problems doing that in a shitty, crappy apartment. As long as I have people in my life, I'll be fine. I already have enough entertainment to last me like 30 years, so, that's why I'm buying all this stupid shit now, like Wii U games and whatever the hell, so that, when I'm 20 and I have to pay the phone bill, I don't have to be like, I'm bored, I need to go to the movies. No, I have like more than 100 DVDs and probably more than like 400 games. I don't at all feel guilty about the fact that I have games on my shelf that I haven't even put in the console yet, because it's like, oh, well, something that one day I'll get use out of. It's like a library. I don't think of it as a collection, I think of it as a library. Whenever I need entertainment, here it is. Maybe there's stuff here that I don't really like, but that somebody else in my life at the time might. Maybe one day I'll have a kid or something to pass all this down to. I mean, I hope so. And the likely chance that I never find a woman who is willing to make a child with me, I might just adopt one. Who knows, maybe I'll adopt one anyways. I feel like not enough people adopt. I feel like there's something even more special about getting to that point where you've shaped someone's life and always been there for them, or at least tried to. And you didn't even make them yourself, but they had you anyway. All of this shit because of high school graduation. The brain is an interesting thing, huh? 2022. I keep thinking about how I might actually live to see the year 2099, and if I do, it's going to be really funny seeing what Marvel does with Spider-Man 2099. That has nothing to do with anything. I just thought it'd be funny to say. Yeah, I don't know, man. A lot of thoughts. You know, I think so often about what my ideal life would be in the context of that's what it will be one day. But things almost never happen the way you imagine them to. And even with that knowledge, you still imagine what they could be because it gives you something to aspire to. I mean, I hope that my game takes off and is really successful or whatever. I don't really plan to make any money off of it. I mean, I'm going to sell it, but I don't really plan to profit from it. It's more of a psychological thing. People are more likely to be engaged with a product that they actually paid for. That's one thing I've learned. But, you know, I hope that I get to live with my best friend for a few years, and I hope that eventually I actually find a person who I can, like, you know, marry and live with for the rest of my life. Because I don't really do so well alone. But who knows? Maybe it'll never happen. Maybe you'll get run over one day, and then that's the end. You never know. Nothing is exactly certain. I think that the reason why high school graduation is the way that it is for a lot of people, because I know I'm not the only one that goes crazy with all these thoughts. There's got to be at least someone else. I think it's because you feel so much at once and you don't know what any of it means. And even the things you do know what they mean is so, it's just so much. But it's also so little because you just have no idea what happens next. And you don't know what most of these thoughts mean. And I remember wearing that cap and gown and feeling so out of place next to all of these kids who are going to university and have these big futures ahead of them. And thinking, I'm not ready. I lost 2 years of high school just to COVID, and I don't know if I'm ready to be done with high school. I mean, I am now, so it doesn't really matter if I'm ready or not. But you don't exactly feel ready. Maybe you're not. Maybe nobody who graduates high school is ready to graduate high school, even if they think they are. There are plenty of situations in this life where you think you're ready for something and you're absolutely not. I thought I was ready to go one single week with, you know, limited Wi-Fi, and that played out well. Especially considering that going outside isn't exactly an option where I live now, so the internet is the last, you know, wire between me and the rest of the world. You know, of all the reasons to wrap up what I'm rambling about and stop recording, I didn't think having to pee would be the reason, but I think that's going to be the reason. This is the nicest thing I have to wear. It's literally just a dress shirt, and then underneath it I'm wearing a blue plain t-shirt. And everybody else looks so nice in their fancy suits and ties, and they were wearing dress shoes. I'm like, what kind of high schooler has dress shoes? But crazy, man. It's weird to think that all those old friends I don't talk to anymore, that they're graduating high school too today. I guess time only moves in one direction, and that's straight ahead.